Hey Jason, why don't you just try Carnivore? All right, guys, I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today because this is one of those things that people say, and I have to shake my head at it. And I get where they're coming from. I get that people who only have had a couple years of experience or knowledge around nutrition, they try something like this and they seem to get some positive results, and they want everyone to try it, including people who detract from it. But the problem is these are also people who haven't heavily researched nutrition. They don't realize that the people they were following, even if they might be a medical doctor who promote this, are shunned by the rest of the scientific community. And they don't realize that oftentimes even those people's blood work looks horrific, and they don't understand the long-term consequences, and that's the problem. And I'm not even going to harp on the cholesterol then, because when you're dealing with people in these sort of groups, they don't believe that there's a link, and you can't convince them of it no matter how much research you show them. But let's talk about the more obvious stuff. Let's just set that aside. Hey, people are like, why don't you just try it? And I'm like, because the consequences are too high. The consequences of the specific dietary deficiencies that won't show for a long time are just simply too high, and I know better. And anyone who knows nutrition knows better, and it's very unfortunate that in a few years a lot of these people are going to be in for a rude awakening. What they don't realize is that what they may be doing is forcing themselves into that sort of lifestyle indefinitely, meaning they won't be able to revert back from it in some cases. And the other thing is going to be the other health problems that develop due to no fiber, lack of antioxidants, things like that in the diet. So let's mention that part first. So people say, why don't you try it? And I'm like, well, because heart disease runs in my family. I don't want cancer. Let's put those up on the list. Again, setting aside things like the insulin sensitivity. Okay. Let's set all that aside. We know that insulin resistance goes hand in hand with ultra high saturated fat. That is proven in the lab. That's not a point of contention. That's a factor. That's a big factor in cancer, diabetes, other stuff. Okay, but really, what are we looking at? The lack of antioxidants, the lack of healthy gut flora. This is all linked to cancers, cardiovascular disease, but definitely cancers. So we know that fruits, vegetables, whole grains, all these things, but particularly the fruits and vegetables, are absolutely linked to lower cancer rates. They dramatically reduce cancer. And a big part of that is all the antioxidants, the polyphenols, all these different things, phytonutrients. This is linked to reducing cancer rates across the board. So you see where we're going with this? So someone's like, oh, just try it for 6 months or a year or whatever. And I'm like, well, that's a pretty big risk to take, considering we know that lack of antioxidant status when you eat no fruits and vegetables, even if you eat low fruits and vegetables, let's just say if you eat low amounts, not even go to zero, you're dramatically increasing your chances of a wide variety of cancers, like just straight up. Okay? And this is well observed, well documented. Okay? So why don't you just try it? Well, because I don't want to double my chances of getting cancers, like of 17, 18, 20 different types. And they're like, well, I've been doing it a year and I don't have cancer yet. Yeah, that's like the people who say, hey, I smoked for 5 years already. I don't have lung cancer yet. You're predisposing yourself to lung cancer even later if you quit. Now, granted, the sooner you quit, the lower it's going to be. But yeah, you can smoke for 5 years and get lung cancer from it 10 years after you quit. You increase your chances. Right? It's the same thing if you do this a prolonged period of time with nearly zero antioxidants in your diet. Okay? There can be consequences of this, long-term consequences, because you did some silly fad diet because my friends were doing it. Someone told me it felt really good. Yeah, I'm sure plenty of people, when they first tried heroin or cocaine, thought it felt really good. They felt amazing on it. Well, there are eventually some consequences for that. People say, how can you compare that? I can, because we know the consequences of no fiber and no fruits and vegetables or antioxidants in your diet is potentially deadly. I guess that's not a controversial position, even though I might have mentioned it in a form of hyperbole. I mean, we are giving a hyperbole by saying, well, heroin or whatever. Okay, fine. But you get the idea. It's the same concept. It's taken to the next extreme. You were predisposing yourself to very serious long-term problems. What about the gut flora extinction? Right? No fiber in your diet? Well, we don't need fiber. What quack told you we don't need fiber? What quack told you you don't need these healthy gut flora? Are you people not keeping up with the current data on gut health and gut flora and gut biome and all the stuff that we are finding about how it's linked to everything from cancers to depression to mental illness? You're causing all sorts of gut flora extinction, and it's not always reversible. Yeah, you might be able to start reintroducing slowly these things and build it back up. You won't be able to tolerate them easily. But how many of the people go to these diets because of GI tract problems they created from eating a garbage diet already? Well, yeah, they've got gut health problems and gut damage and everything, and that's why they go to these diets, because they can barely handle the fiber. Well, they're going to have to work. They need to be doing the opposite. It's a temporary fix to a lifestyle-induced problem. This solution is going to make it worse. They need to be doing a low FODMAP approach and introduce fruits and vegetables that they can probably tolerate while they build that healthy gut biome back up, because the consequences are catastrophic. And again, it's hard to reverse. Sometimes literally requires a fecal transplant, okay, to get someone else's gut bacteria into you. Okay, that's literally sometimes what has to be done by a medical doctor. All right, so these are the consequences. So it's like, why not try it? It's not worth it. And that is before we get into all the atherosclerosis and stuff that'll accumulate. And that's its own whole topic. The long-term heart disease you're causing 10 years down the road by this lifestyle. But that's, again, it's a much longer reaching thing. These others are a little more short-term. And they're more convincing to people who don't believe in that other hypothesis, which is pretty close to being fact. All right, but again, it's kind of the idea, why don't you try it? It's like, well, these are the same people who are like, if all my friends jumped off of a bridge, I would do it. Like when your mom asked you as a kid, if all your friends were jumping off of a bridge, would you do it? Well, you're that person who would say, yeah, of course, because my friends are doing it. I'm going to jump off the bridge too. They said it felt good. Okay? In spite of all the evidence to the contrary. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.